going on, guys? Welcome to the Winning Move podcast. This week, I'm doing it out of my car. I just didn't feel like going to the office today, and that's one of the good things about working virtually. So today, it's going to be something I talk about all the time, but it's leadership. And the reason I'm going to talk about this is because earlier today, I'm sitting there. I think I'm about to go take a shower, and I get a message as I'm coming home from the gym. And one of my employees who's a bigger person than the other person, like, hey, this person got a strike because they made this mistake. And so in one of our companies, if you get a strike, you only get 3, right? And we just implemented that because there's so many people. It was honestly somewhat lazy and bad leadership. But like, if you get a strike, if you get 3 strikes, you're out. And this person gave another one of our employees a strike for a pretty basic mistake that I didn't think violated core values. It wasn't negligent. Like, it wasn't any of those things. There was an honest mistake. And I was like, whoa there. In all reality, we want to be able to lead with the carrot and not the stick. And when I say the carrot, I mean, all right, we want to like make things go smoother by rewarding them than rather than be like, hey, bitch, bow, you messed up, slap you. No mistakes, no mistakes, no mistakes. Because if everybody is afraid to mess up, fuck up, or do anything, then like there's not going to be any growth. There's not going to be any new experimentation. And they're not going to be creative enough to eventually, when we get to a point where we need them to be creative and solve new problems, they're not going to do that. And so I had to have an honest conversation with the person who was disciplining this. Like, so why did you do this? She was like, well, we could have lost a client. I was like, number one, over this situation, if we lose a client over this, that client was going to leave anyways. Number two, it's okay, right? Like, if this person has been working hard and they've been getting after it all the time, they've never shown anything that like violated any type of our core values. They were not trying to do something like extremely negligent, nothing like that, then it's okay. Like, let it be, and let's have a conversation with the person who we're just reprimanding out of nowhere, instead of being like, hey, you know what? You fucked up. This is a strike. You fucked up big, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, we want to grow this person. And if we're giving everybody strikes, if we keep firing all of our people, very soon we're going to run out of people just to even have. And I feel like we fire a lot of people just so we can make sure we have the best people internally. But if we are burning through some of our upper level talent really, really fast, or let's say like we just aren't developing, right? So is the point I'm trying to get. We were not developing this person in any way. Like, there was no place that there was a conversation between those two to like, hey, you did this. Why did you do this? How can we avoid this in the future? To a majority of the time, that's the conversation we should have with our people when they are making mistakes. And if it's a really, really big one and they made it and they know they messed up and it was a really big deal, then you can have that conversation because they should have been better than that and they shouldn't have lost you X amount of money. But in all reality, most mistakes are, just flat out fixable. Even if we would have messed up, we could have credited a client, sent them free stuff. We could have done a lot of things to just remedy the solution. Say, hey, we fucked up. We're so sorry about that. Here's what we're going to do to fix that for you. And then it's an amazing learning experience for that employee who did mess up, and then they can teach everyone else and they won't ever make it again. If that person did make that excuse again, then we have an issue, right? Like, well, not excuse. If they made that mistake like multiple times over and they just weren't paying attention, like, okay, yeah, now like strike on the second one. Now on the third one, like, hey, you just don't give a fuck. Like, you don't care about the outcome. That's okay. But as you're leading your team, you cannot just be getting on them for all of the mistakes. And the biggest learning lesson for me on this is because she reached out to me, like, thinking she did something good. And I was like, why did you do this? She's like, this is what I thought you would do. I was like, oh, wow, I've probably been a little bit too intense lately. I was like, but never, ever, ever do I want to move into an action like that over mistakes. Generally, when we're giving people strikes, it's because like, hey, we've talked to you about this multiple times. And it was my fault and my lack of leadership there that allowed this situation to pop up. It was a learning experience for me, and it was a learning experience for those two as well. So my biggest learning lesson was like, okay, how am I not leading the team the right way and setting the right standard? I know I'm not talking to them enough to relay the message that we want to get across and the type of leadership style we want. Because if that's the leadership style we have, then everything is going to fall apart. We're going to fire all of our employees. Everybody's going to be scared as fuck to work, and it's not going to be very fun. It's not the culture we want. So how can I grow as a leader to prevent those things from happening with everybody else? First, it's having legitimate conversations with people when these things do pop up, because this is a mistake on that person's end, right? So if it's a mistake on that person's end, that's okay. How can I fix that mistake? And then it's me showing more publicly of like, hey, this is an example of where we would react this way. This is an example of where we would react this way. One thing I was proud of is that she was like, hey, I handled this. Because the biggest thing is, like, for me personally, most decisions, we have enough employees to where I shouldn't be handling your decisions. You can handle these decisions on your own. So what do you think you should do is one of the majority of questions that I just ask most people in our companies. What do you think you should do? How do you think you should handle this? And then they take it from there. So she took responsibility. She handled it how she saw fit. But now it's a learning experience of how I can coach her up on how, okay, you know what, next time let's do it this way. Moving forward, we don't want to approach it that way. We want to approach it a little bit different. And that's my fault. Again, if I can give you guys a biggest takeaway, this whole situation was my fault for not being able to lead our team better and not being able to show people the correct way to lead people. But it's an amazing learning experience. I hope this helps you guys in your companies as you grow and everything else. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're opening up the Winning Mastermind this week for the next 3 days. If you're interested, send me a DM on Instagram at StratDaddy saying win, and let's talk about it. Let's see if you're a good fit for it so we can help take you to the next level and put you in a community of amazing entrepreneurs. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.